being stuck in a flight next to a complete stranger. And by the time you land, that conversation changes your entire life. That's the premise of the Enlightened Passenger and the 10 lessons inside. Welcome, everybody, to my live stream today. And as you possibly already imagined, it is about storytelling. It is about how we can become our next greater self. In those lives, I feature people that have been a very important part in my life that contributed to my book Gumption that is coming out later this year. And one of those people is Corey Poirier. He is an author, a TEDx speaker, an entrepreneur, and also known for his Blue Talks. And he interviewed thousands of thought leaders. And in his book, The Enlightened Passenger, The Flight That Changes Everything, is a short fictional parable that uses a plain conversation between two men to teach life, success, purpose, and fulfillment lessons. And why am I sharing this with you? Because there is a connection to my book, because there's always a connection to my book, Gumption. And that connection is on the backside. Corey has endorsed my book, and this is what he said, this is what he wrote. Few books manage to both inspire and equip. Sabine's memoir is a legacy piece, one that future generations will turn to for wisdom, courage, and faith. And because he is such a thought leader himself, has written many books, is a TEDx speaker, but most importantly, interviewed over 7,000 thought leaders. And during the interviews, he learned something from them. What is the one or two or three things, or the things for them that made them successful? And there are a few things that is universal for success. Of course, we all, when we want to be successful, approach it on different levels, in different ways. That is the individual decision. But there are just some universal truths. When we apply them, we cannot be anything else but successful. And success, by the way, is not only measured in money. Success encompasses so many different things. And in his book, that's what he talks about. His book's lessons center on purpose, mindset, and being intentional with your time and relationships. And today, I want to break down some of those core lessons and success principles that he shared in his book that is also reflected in my journey, in my memoir that I share. But here's another thing that's why I'm talking about his book today. It was so successful that he is working on turning it into a film, into a documentary, into something that brings those lessons across in an entertaining way. And if you remember The Secret, so there is something along the line of that film, that movie, The Secret, that he is aiming for. And when I first saw it, and this was many years ago, but I was at the beginning of my journey of that journey to be successful, a successful entrepreneur and business owner, and finding my way to live a happy and fulfilled life. And that's what it's all about. And in his book, The Enlightened Passenger, it just centers around, okay, let me give you just a few things. The book centers on Robert Stapleton, a successful but unfulfilled businessman, and Treb, an unexpected seatmate who shares 10 life lessons drawn from Poirier's interviews with leaders and his broader work on personal growth. And it's positioned as a self-help book. And so that is what he turns into a movie now. And I love it. And so I want to share it with you. And this upcoming week, he is doing an auction. And there are amazing thought leaders. And I'm part of the people who donated the book. And, I'm a thought leader, but I'm not saying that because I'm donating things, but there are so many other great people like Lisa Nichols or Mark Victor Hansen and his wife. Mark Victor Hansen was also very important in my life because I attended many years back one of his first writing workshops in California. And that got me started in my writing journey, becoming an author. And I never forget that. So, and he is donating his time and so many others that it's worth checking it out. I'll put the link in the show notes that explains how you can become a part of the film's journey. So now let's get into some of the life lessons learned. Because when you go there and apply those lessons, it can only enrich your life. And perhaps you already applied some of those. But you know what they say, repetition is the best teacher, okay? Or how I think Tony said it, repetition is the mother of skills. And that's very true. We get better and better every time. So one of the things that he pointed out is to pay attention to synchronicities or meaningful coincidences, because they can point you toward opportunities and direction. And I can say yes. I can say yes. That happens in my life all the time. And even small things. In my book, Gumption, I do share some of the coincidences that happened in my life. Some of them quite impactful and huge. But then there are also those little things. If this wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have been pointed in one direction or getting an opportunity. And little things like the other day I came late to a meeting, so there was a mix-up in time that was related to me at the beginning, and it doesn't really matter. But I got there and it was halfway through, and then I was getting very nauseous because it was supposed to be a luncheon, so I didn't eat anything. And then I came, I was already late, they were in the meeting, but I said, I just need to grab something because I felt a little nauseous. So I grabbed a little bit, and the food was terrible, but it's okay. At least I felt a little bit better. But then I realized that was not the meeting I was supposed to be in. It was not for me. It might be for someone else. It was kind of a sort of a network meeting, but it just didn't speak to me. And it was just not something that was beneficial to me, to my journey, my growth, and how I can contribute. So what I then saw is, you know what, I got to leave. I got to text. And if something was very, very important, or it would have been, wow, I maybe could have delayed that response to the text, but I just had to leave. So I was there maybe 10 minutes or so, and then I left. But because this happened, I was able to see someone. I have an app called Owl, which is a fantastic networking app, by the way. And I'll put it in the show notes as well, or in the description. But I saw that one person that I met 3 months earlier at Podfest, and we talked about some topic. And so I called him up, and I saw he was available on that app. And we had a short conversation, but then I reminded him of something that I could help him with. And that combination, because I can also help another person with that, it's always about win-win-win. That's just who I am. But that conversation led to a point that, oh my gosh, yes, this can happen. And I may come and see him when my book is being released, because right now I'm helping someone else who is looking for opportunities to speak on his radio show and also do a book signing. So I'm going to put those two together. And that was fantastic. This would have not happened if that somewhat not so good experience happened and me leaving early. You see, those are the coincidences, for me, meaningful coincidences. And the more and more we become aware of those, the more we are in tune of these synchronicities that can show us opportunities and direction. So that is one of the core lessons in his book. And then there is another thing I think is very impactful, and I have to be reminded on that all the time. And that is, focus on the small 1% improvements instead of obsessing over everything you already do well. And I'm saying I have to chuckle because I am, quote unquote, a perfectionist. Maybe that is my upbringing, maybe that is my heritage, I don't know, but I'm sometimes so obsessed, something has to be perfect. And I had to unlearn that when I started my online journey, my entrepreneurial journey, especially my online journey. Because as a former actress, I know I had to be perfect. The lines had to be like it was written by the author. When I step on stage, I say those lines, not mine. Of course, sometimes we must improvise if we forget a word, but it has to be perfect. When you step in front of the camera, when I did my TV series and everything had to be perfect. The makeup, you cannot shine, and the hair and the lines and how you stop on your cue, etc. I was trained to be perfect, but that didn't serve me so well on my entrepreneurial journey. And I remember when I first started out doing those recordings, right? It was like, hello, my name is Sabine Kvenberg, and oh no, let me start again. Hi, my name is Sabine Kvenberg, and today I'm going to talk. This was not the right word, etc., etc., etc. I was just a mess, and eventually it got better. But once I made the decision not to be perfect, and I listened to one of my mentors that I had at that time, and he said, "Well, enjoy the journey. Don't fret about being perfect. Learn along the way." And yeah, that's what I eventually started doing. Don't be perfect. And now I'm at the point, even if I learn something new, for example, right now I'm using platforms, and the new platform I'm using is a little bit different, and there's a learning curve. And I'm working on a challenge. I'll put that in the show notes too, in case you're interested. It's my AI build, excuse me, build your communication clone AI challenge. Here you have it. And I'm very excited about, because I'm all about communication. How do we communicate and still stay human, even if we use AI? And it's all about the data that you feed your AI. So I'm going to do a 3-day challenge. It's absolutely free, and you can participate if you like. And I'll put the link in the show notes. Now, but what I wanted to say, now I have to put this on the new platform. I don't have to, but I wanted to, because eventually you have to start. Now, I know it's not perfect yet. Eventually I will use the right funnel, and I will use the right things that makes it easier. But you know what? I got started. And who knows, maybe when you register and you get an email that looks a little bit weird or so, or maybe it doesn't have the right links, let me know. But I'm not fretting about that anymore. Just getting started. So that is the small 1% improvements that you can do. Okay, don't obsess to have everything already perfectly done well. Okay. And then the third one that I want to share today is, and that's a big one, live on purpose. And make your daily choices match your mission. Maybe you have a mission statement, maybe not. Even if you haven't written it down, you always want to have a mission in life. What is your mission? What are you aiming for? It can be a mission to make a difference in somebody else's lives, to make a difference in humane, what is that? For example, I support the Humane Society. So it's a non-profit. And maybe you have something that you want to support, a non-profit organization that is to the benefit either for animals or people or whatever it is. Or your mission is to make learning more affordable, or to make health your number one mission. Whatever it is, it helps us to stay on our purpose, because we all have been given a talent. And when we use that talent, we are ready on purpose, right? My talent is performing, singing, dancing, creating. I'm a creator at heart. I write music, I write plays, I have been on stages for many, many years. I was a professional actress, I was a professional director, I was a business owner, I had my own school. Now, my mission has changed. We change through our life. It doesn't have to be once and for all set in stone. We're using our talent and we have a mission at that time. And then it goes to the next. And then we evolve. We as people evolve. We grow. And that's one of the cornerstone in my book is growth. When we become aware and we grow, this is when things start to move forward fast. So growth is very important. And when you have that mission in life, you are on purpose. And when you can live a purpose-driven life, your life will be so much happier. You are so much more fulfilled. Now, do we have challenges in life? Of course we do. I had my fair share of it. There are always situations in our lives where we maybe lose a loved one. That's just part of life. We go through a turmoil time, but through those times, we learn and we grow. And it is like when you are at a fair, right? And there are these roller coasters. Whoa, there is like this excitement going up, and then the scary part, and then you come down. And then you're maybe sitting down for a little while and you don't know where to go next. But then there is an up again. And so it is in our lives. So, anyways, this is what I wanted to share with you. And of course, being a traveler myself, throughout my career, I traveled into many different countries, which is another wonderful way of expanding our horizons and grow. And that's what the Enlightened Traveler also talks about. The Enlightened Traveler is really about someone who shares the life lessons with another person who is just focused on success, meaning having another great sale, making that success ladder even steeper and getting to the very top, having the best car, having everything that his heart desires, but maybe being empty inside. So, and again, I am supporting Corey's mission, again, talking about mission, right? To turn this book into a film. And as you know, watching a movie or watching a very exciting documentary or something that is giving you that, I want to learn more, or wow, I never knew that experience, and just entertainment and learning something from it. And we know when we see something on film, it's a different experience than we read something. Both are equally important. But I like and I enjoy watching a movie or a documentary. And so that's why I am supporting Corey's mission. I am supporting it by sharing it. I'm supporting it by donating my time. I donated the Spotlight Speaker Experience, where you get my Confidence Speaker Accelerator program, where you get one private coaching session with me and a full 1-year membership in my Vibrant Voices Network community, where you on a weekly basis can see me, can learn from me. And so that in and of itself, if you want to grab stages, if you want to grow your clientele or your business, then I urge you to learn how to become a confident and effectful speaker and be present and have that authority on stage when you speak. And that's what I teach. So I will put all the information in the description. And if you listen on the podcast, it will be in the show notes. And I hope to see you there. I will be there myself because I can always learn from other people. So I will be there and I hope to see you there as well. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, you can always put it in the chat, even if you watch the replay, and I am happy to answer it. I wish you a happy weekend and a fantastic week with lots of success and most importantly, with great fulfillment. Because remember, serve from the heart, follow your passion, and live the life you imagine.